Tonight's meditation is going to be a long meditation. I'm going to give a super quick talk and then we'll get into it. The truth is, I have no specific thing that I want to talk about. And I had a couple of ideas. Grab me that statue. One of the things that I just thought about, I want to talk about meditation and just like the general whys and hows and the benefits and all that. And then I was walking through and I saw this statue that some of you guys might remember. We have this statue of Bodhidharma, thank you, ma'am. And he usually Bodhidharma sits up on that shelf and looks down on the mats as we practice. And he's got this kind of stern look on his face. He's not quite impressed with what he sees. And it helps me remember to be super focused and give it my all as a teacher. Bodhidharma was the legendary first Kung Fu teacher and the first martial arts teacher, because he is the one, according to legend, who came to Shaolin Temple and came up with this whole idea. He was not the first person to meditate. He was not the first person to fight. He was the first person to combine them. And he, as the legend goes, came to the temple and saw the monks kind of being lazy with their practice and they were falling asleep during meditation. And so he said, we're going to combine a physicality to this, kind of in the same idea as in yoga has a physical component to it. There is now a physical component, and it's a great idea to use the body to discipline the mind and to use the mind to discipline the body and to use your whole self in that way in conjunction. And the thing that struck me about this statue is we took it down because it's got these spots that are growing on it, and it's like some kind of disease taking over. It's maybe something in the breakdown of this little substance that was left over on the statue, and it's spreading. And it reminded me of like moss on a stone, and as they say, moss does not grow on a rolling stone. And some people think, well, that's great. I hate moss. I better be the rolling stone. I'm just going to keep moving. But I believe it's meant to be the opposite. You are meant to be a stone that is still, and then the moss grows, and the moss is like wisdom. Now, this is my interpretation of this phrase, and if somebody knows better, tell me later. But that's the interpretation that we're going to go with. I saw this statue. This is not moss. It is stuff that's growing on the statue of Bodhidharma, so it made me think of this. But it's kind of like this statue is, I don't think that it's that old. I would love to say that it's ancient, but pretty sure they made it right before we bought it in China like a couple of years ago. But it's getting there. It's collecting something on it. The time is helping it to become kind of more, it's giving it more character. You might feel like this is happening with your body. The older you are, the more character your body has, the more noises it makes, the more you have to kind of listen to it and warm it up. Muriel just had her 34th birthday yesterday, and I just wrecked her and everybody else in class. She had to do 2 rounds of birthday strengthening because I made her do it in the kids class and the adult class. And she said, Sifu, I slept for so long last night. She's like, I never sleep, but I slept last night. And this is part of getting old is when you really work hard, you need sleep. And if you think 34 is old, then you are not there. But back to this. So when we meditate, we are meant to be still. We are not a rolling stone in meditation. We are a stone that sits. We are a boulder. We are a mountain. And you can take this from me, man. We do our internal retreat. We've done it before at a great Zen center up in Mount Baldy, and it's a very cool place. Beautiful. The spot that we are On has lots of beautiful old trees, but Mount Baldy, I feel like doesn't have enough vegetation. And it always bothers me to see a mountain like that that's not covered by lots of big trees. And so I'm from Northern California, and the Pacific Northwest has so much beautiful, gigantic trees, and it just feels right to be there. We want to be that mountain that's been there for a long time, that's got the right kind of soil or with water, come in and whatever it takes to grow the trees. And you just sit there for long enough to grow these giant trees. I'm not even content with moss. I want sequoias growing on me. And when we sit to meditate, this is one of the most pressing, most difficult, kind of immediate and lasting challenges, but especially in the beginning of each meditation, and especially in the beginning of your meditation practice as a whole, is to just be able to sit still, to not move when your body wants you to move because you have an ache or you have an itch, when your ego wants you to move because it's looking for any excuse to stop you from meditating, because your ego hates meditating. Your ego is like, get me out of here. I don't like it, because it feels like death. That's what meditation is on some level, is ego death. So it's trying to make you move. And you just don't. You just sit there solid. And the longer you sit, I'm not going to say that it's a guarantee that you will have a better meditation, but it brings the likelihood way up that your meditation is deeper, that you are able to get to a deeper state of consciousness, that you're able to let those thoughts go. And part of it is because when you sit still, it takes your awareness away from your extremities, from your limbs, from your skin, from that kind of agitated brain, and it brings it within to the center. And so you are maybe focusing on the energy going up and down the spine, or you're focusing on just the breathing as it comes in and out from your belly or from your nose, or however you're focusing on that. And so when you internalize your awareness and then you start to move, it usually kind of resets it. It's like pressing the reset button and you starting all over again. So if you can sit still for long, then you're going to get to that deeper place, more likely. The other analogy I use is if you take a scoop, take a glass of water from a pond and you sit it on the table and you look at it, it's got this stuff swimming around and it's not an actual living thing. It's just like, sediment just swirling. But you let it sit there for long enough and all of that stuff just settles to the bottom. And then you end up with crystal clear water. And so you can think of yourself in that way. You're the glass. The water is like the consciousness. And if you just let it sit there for long enough, you don't pick it up and shake it up, you don't move around, you just let all that settle. So what we're going to do tonight in our meditation is you got to first and foremost find a comfortable place to sit, a way to sit. In the dojo, this is the place that you're sitting. At home, if there's some place that's more quiet, maybe you can do that. But a comfortable posture, one that you can sit still for about a half an hour in. And I will start us off with a couple of deep breaths. I'll start us off where you're doing diaphragmatic breathing, you're oxygenating the blood, and you're going to get yourself kind of awake and ready to just be still. And then tonight, I'm going to actually be ringing the bell every couple of minutes. I'm just going to give it one ring, and then I'm going to set it back down. That does not mean that we're done. You'll know that it's done because we'll do the long kind of singing bowl ring followed by 3 dings on the bell. That's when we're done. But each time you hear the bell, this is just an opportunity to bring your mind back to your breath, to center yourself and make sure that you're not moving. I have not decided how many times I'm going to ring the bell yet, so you don't need to count and try to do the math of how many more we have left and how long is left in the meditation. Just sit still. And I'm actually tonight going to leave the feeds up on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to leave you guys up on Zoom as well. And you're not going to be able to see me very well because we're turning the lights off, but I am going to ring the bell and you should be able to hear that, no problem. So sit comfortably and still. Turn off all the lights except for these right above my head to start, Meryl. That's just the second switch. Yeah. So I like to sit seiza. You don't have to sit seiza. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit half lotus, full lotus, whatever you can do where your knees are even with or below your hips so that you don't get your legs falling asleep. You can have your hands in a couple of different positions. It's usually better to have your hands palm up together or separate, but not really sliding down. So have your hands at the spot between your abdomen and thighs, just on the hips. And then your spine is going to be straight. So you're going to roll the shoulders back, but not tense. So just roll back and relax. Your chin is parallel to the ground. The eyes are closed and upturned. You know, you can hit the lights now. And then from this position, if you want to get your eyes slightly raised, this is the best way to make sure that you don't fall asleep in meditation. Just slightly raise the eyes to the point between the eyebrows. It's what we call the third eye. And you can do that by looking at a spot off in the distance that's slightly higher and have your eyes raised that way. You can just visualize the point between your eyebrows in your imagination, and your eyes will naturally raise up. And now let's do some deep breathing. Begin with all the breath out. Breathing in through the nose. Hold at the top for a few seconds and out through the nose or the mouth. And want to breathe in through the belly. Hold and out. Try to breathe completely out so you can breathe completely in. Two more breaths. And finish with a double exhalation. Now just let the breath fill by itself and empty by itself. So you are like an outside observer. This is one of the ways to think of meditation, is you are starting to identify as what is beyond the ego. You are not the thoughts that you're having. You can observe the thoughts, just like you observe the breath. Instead of trying to change or manipulate the breath, you just allow it to go. Instead of trying to change or manipulate the thoughts, you just allow them to go. You let the thoughts go and come back to the breath. Try to keep your mind focused on that physical sensation of the breath for as long as you can. If you lose that focus, just bring it gently back.